The crest on the ceiling is attributed to Raphael, and it is the crest of the Dukes of Urbino in Italy. And the woodwork is the very woodwork that was in the palace of Urbino in Italy. Close friend for nearly 10 years here in New York City. She passed away in 1987, but she revealed to me how the creative, the divine spirit is, put into manifestation in movement in the dance of Isadora Duncan. And that was the only dance that I really found, that the creative spirit was so alive. And so that's, why I repeat this, is to, in honoring her, and it was something, very special in my life, and it had a big impact on me. And she knew, all the people that lived, the most important people of the La Belle Epoque, like Auguste Rodin and Bourdelle and Eleanor Duse. So, I heard all these stories for years, so it has such a strong impact on me that, when I get an opportunity to present it, I'm just so honored to do so, and especially here in this extraordinary space, that's authentically, Renaissance. It's just, a wonderful experience. Hi, I'm Pamela De Fina, and I'm from Palm Beach, Florida. I grew up in Florida. I was born in New York City. I'm the daughter of the late Major George De Fina of New York and Palm Beach, Florida, and he was a member of the United Nations. He was a major in the Army. He wrote the tax law for the state of New York and was the youngest Supreme Court Justice for the Court of Tax. He was also president of Florida Lawn Tennis Association and board of directors of the United States Lawn Tennis Association. And he coached both the French and the Italian Davis Cup players. I started out as an elementary school teacher, and then I married a European artist, and we lived in France and Italy for about 10 years. And he was a painter. And then I attended the Graduate School of Fine Arts in Florence, which is part of the Vatican program, and Villa Schifanoia. And I have a master's in art history. I studied the art in Florence, and it was there that I started, the art has such a great effect on me that I started making my own observations about the body and movement through the art in Florence. Was the art of Michelangelo in particular. And so then when I came to New York, and I was always searching for the dance of Isadora Duncan. I had been brought up in the ballet, and I did have a trainee scholarship with Harkness Ballet at 16, but I didn't take it because I wanted to go to college. But later when I was searching for the dance of Isadora Duncan, and I couldn't find it very easily. And I finally found her brother's gallery in Paris, and they led me to Maria Theresa. They said that she was the last of the adopted children, and she was the most astute person to learn the dance from, and that I could find her here in New York. So I went to one of her performances, and she was so moving. She brought, I had never seen a dancer that moved me to tears like that. And I said, oh my God, I saw her. I said, I thought Isadora Duncan was dead. I was shocked. She looked like her, and she really had the same, profound presence on stage and way that she expressed herself. And it was so powerful that, I was just moved. I've never been moved as deeply. So then I met her, and we had an instant, meeting, like a beautiful rapport. And so then we met for about 10 years here in New York in private. We couldn't meet, and not that many people knew about it. And so she told me, endless stories of her life with Isadora and all the people they knew, and then Rodin and Wardell and Eleanor Duse and D'Annunzio and all these famous artists and people of the time. And then we would go always to the studio to practice.
So did she kind of like take you under her wing?
Oh yes, definitely. She chose me because she said that I understood the art. What she thought was the best. I understood the art the best of anyone she knew. So I was with her there the longest. And it was. She was a wonderful, wonderful, extraordinary person with great depth. She created many pieces herself. She's the only one out of the 6 that created so much herself. So she understood, on a deep level, what Isadora was creating, and she understood the art. And the other girls, she had a lot of jealousy around her naturally, because she was the one really that carried, the flame of Isadora the most of all of them. And Edward Steichen did photographs, especially of Theresa. He, was more impressed with her. And she was married to a wonderful man, an art dealer. He had an art galleries, and he also lectured in art history, and he was a concert pianist. So he used to play the piano, and she performed in Carnegie Hall. She was the first dancer to dance in the White House under the invitation of Eleanor Roosevelt. And she danced at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées, and she had many celebrated people like Grandjean and D'Annunzio who wrote extraordinary things about Maria Theresa.
What made you want to dance the Isadora Duncan style of dance?
Well, it was because I had studied all this great art, and I wanted a form of movement that I could express my own findings in the things that moved me in the paintings are the very things that moved me in the dance. Only there was another dimension to it, the music, that I hadn't discovered before, that you could actually create according to great music. So it was the whole idea that Isadora had studied, I found, the same paintings that I had studied in Italy and Florence, the Renaissance, Greek, and in Art Nouveau, and in France. So she was creating pieces, to the same paintings that I was moved by over there, and so as a form of expression, I was intuitively led to find the people that did the Isadora Duncan dance. And I'm glad that I was led to Theresa, because she was the only living adopted daughter that at the time that I was searching for the dance. There were a few others, of course, that lived also, had died at that time, that also did the dances. Anna and Irma lived in New York, and they taught the dances, but they didn't have these works that Theresa had created and worked up on her own with the Cape, the Funeral March, and the Liszt and the Beethoven's Number 7. She's the only one that, and she did many other pieces that she doesn't have on film, or there's no record.
According to your own definition, how would you define the essence of Isadora Duncan's dance?
Well, it's the soul's expression. It's a deep form of expression in motion that integrates music, art, poetry, and the spiritual, the creative. But Isadora was of course, as we know, a great creative genius. And the dances are highly creative. And also she integrated the elements of nature. And she always said her main inspiration was the ocean waves and the continual expansion and contraction. And there's always two movements in her dance. There's always going and coming, expanding and contracting. There's always two. And it's done in a very graceful way and in harmony to the music. But you have to have the ear, to understand the music. As this pianist said, also, he said, oh, I can see that you have to know music to do this. So the people that really understand Isidora's dance have got to really know music, and to be, to particularly, to be able to create to it.
So what's the next step for you as a dancer? Are you going to continue teaching this to other people?
Oh, I would, yes, wherever it's not the only thing I'm doing right now, but where I would, yes, I think that it's important, just to keep it alive, and wherever there's a demand, either for teaching or, performing or lecturing, I would love to teach children, because children are really natural for this dance. And that's really what Isidora had in mind when she had all the schools and all these children. The dance was really for children. And I know it's just a shame that it's not taught to a greater degree, in the school system.
So, you told me that you like dancing here. You're dancing on this floor, in this whole, what's the ambience of this room to you?
Oh, this room was the most extraordinary room to dance in. First of all, it is completely authentic, Renaissance. The Renaissance was another apex in art. It was the height of the great works of art, and this library is the living embodiment of that. And it has a spiritual serenity and energy, so and an intellectual. So therefore, the dance also has an artistic and a spiritual dimension. So this is like the architecture, the space, the movement, the music, the art all becomes one. So it's very easy to dance here, especially this dance, because you feel as if you're at one with your surroundings. The surroundings, lend itself to the dance, and the floors and the woodwork. The woodwork is authentic from the palace of the Duke of Urbino. So you can't get any finer woodwork. And so this gives you a feeling of, solidity, a connection with the earth and nature, as well as the spiritual and the intellectual level. It's a magnificent space.